Chapter 51. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Thousands of years ago, the demon king Muzan Kibutsuji was born. As the first demon born in the world, Muzan Kibutsuji not only slaughtered countless lives, but also created countless brutal and murderous demons. Countless people died because of Muzan, and these countless unjust deaths have since become the curse of the Ubuyashiki family, because the Ubuyashiki family has a direct blood relationship with Muzan Kibutsuji. From then on, every male descendant of the Ubuyashiki family will be weak and sick from birth, and it is very easy to die young. In a very short period of time, the Ubuyashiki family was almost exterminated, and later relied on marriage with the priest family to barely continue the family, but even so, the male descendants of the Ubuyashiki family still cannot live past the age of 30. In order to survive and grow up, the boys of the Ubuyashiki family have been raised as girls since childhood, and even wear women's clothes. But even so, as they grow older, every Ubuyashiki male will gradually lose his appearance and eventually die early. The women of the Ubuyashiki clan are also affected by the curse. They must get married and change their surnames to their husbands before the age of 13, otherwise there is still a great possibility of premature death. Under such a curse, the ancestors of the Ubuyashiki clan founded the Demon Slayer Corps in order to eliminate Muzan and remove the curse, and also to atone for their sins. The ancestors of the Ubuyashiki clan founded the Demon Slayer Corps, and the Ubuyashiki Yoya is now the 97th Lord of the Demon Slayer Corps. When Yoya was 4 years old, his father committed suicide because he could not bear the pressure, so the 4-year-old Yoya took on the responsibility of the Demon Slayer Corps Lord. The curse of the Ubuyashiki clan is actually more than just short life and many diseases. In almost every generation of Ubuyashiki, only one male can survive to adulthood. Ubuyashiki Yoya also has 2 younger brothers, but after their father's death, Yoya's 2 younger brothers soon collapsed. When Yoya was 9 years old, the 2 younger brothers burned down the house and committed suicide, and Yoya's mother was burned by the fire in order to save the 2 children, and soon passed away. At the age of 4, Yoya lost his father, and at the age of 9, Yoya lost all his family members. This is the curse that the Ubuyashiki family has been carrying for thousands of years. Ubuyashiki Yoya calmly narrated all this, as if he was telling a story, but Shinichi, who was sitting next to him, had already experienced a magnitude 10 earthquake in his heart. Shinichi never thought that this gentle boy in front of him would bear such a heavy and tragic fate. After hearing about Yoya's experience, Shinichi suddenly felt that everything he said before was so rude. Not blaming Goto for scolding him, Shinichi now wanted to slap himself a few times. It was also from this time that Shinichi's respect for the young Lord Yoya was buried in his heart, so Shinichi stood up very simply, walked in front of Yoya, bowed solemnly and apologized. "I'm sorry, I apologize for my previous rude words and deeds, Lord, sir." Although Shinichi felt very guilty, his experience in his previous life and his own personality still made him feel a little embarrassed when he said the title of Lord. Probably seeing Shinichi's embarrassment, Yaoya said gently, "Don't be so reserved, Shinichi. As you said, our ages are not much different. If possible, I hope you can also call me by my name. The Demon Slayer Corps is a big family. Please regard this place as your home. Shinichi, we are all your family." Home, family. Shinichi's peach-pink and turquoise eyes trembled at the same time. It was a strange and familiar word. In this world, except for Mr. Moriki, the black-haired boy in front of him, who had just met for less than an hour, actually gave him a warm feeling like a family. Deep in Shinichi's heart, the last trace of grudge against the Demon Slayer Corps completely disappeared. A rare smile appeared on his face. "I understand. Thank you, Yaoya." "No, my lord." Yaoya also smiled and nodded. Shinichi, who had no grudges, also said goodbye to Yaoya, because he could see that the young lord was in very poor health. In Shinichi's secretly open Zyoxiasin eyes, Yaoya's vitality is like a green bamboo. Although it seems to be vigorous, it is only the appearance. The inner core is deficient. The terrible curse seems to have begun to affect the young lord. Shinichi. When Shinichi turned around and was about to leave, Yaoya suddenly called him. "Please don't worry about your identity. You are Shinichi, Moriki Shinichi, the successor of the forest breathing, a member of the demon slayer team who destroys evil spirits, and a brave swordsman who protects humans. Now, in the future, and forever. Shinichi's eyes condensed. He knew that Yaoya knew his identity. Although he was reluctant to mention it, Shinichi knew that he also had another identity, a ghost. A ghost with powerful power, a ghost that can walk under the sun. Did the old man tell Yaoya? Shinichi thought of this possibility subconsciously, but Yaoya soon handed a letter written by the old man to Shinichi. The words in the letter were very straightforward. In addition to encouraging Shinichi, the old man also admitted that he had told his lord Yaoya about Shinichi's identity a long time ago. When killing the lower string 4, the old man told the lord through the crow, and was willing to swear that if Shinichi failed to resist the temptation and completely degenerate into a ghost, he would commit seppuku to apologize, and the young lord also chose to believe this old man, not for anything else, but for the blood that the Moriki family had shed for hundreds of years to kill demons. Although Yaoya himself had never seen it, according to the history recorded by the Demon Slayer Corps, every generation of the Moriki family had sacrificed their children in the battle against evil demons, and it had never been cut off for hundreds of years. After reading the letter, Shinichi felt that he should do something, not only for himself, but also for the old man, for the inheritance of the forest breathing, and for the Demon Slayer Corps, for this lord who admired him so much. He should do something, just like what the old man said to him in the letter. The forest breathing is not just the breath of killing demons, sometimes it is also the breath of life that can bring hope to people. Old man, I really understand, don't worry, I won't let you down. I want to be more than just the title of Forest Pillar, I want to be a swordsman who can truly deserve this title. Shinichi folded the letter carefully and put it in the silver mirror on his waist. Ah! Enji's excited cry came from behind. Looking over, a chubby goldfish was pulled out of the pond by Enji at some point, and it was jumping on a pile of stones in vain. Holding Enji, who was slapped, the moment Shinichi stepped out of the gate of the Umiyashiki mansion, his eyes were more determined than ever. Outside the gate, hidden team member Goto was still folding his arms angrily. Seeing Shinichi coming out, he rolled his eyes immediately. Although he was angry, he still came to lead the way for Shinichi. After all, Shinichi was not familiar with the Demon Slayer Corps. Well, I was wrong before. I shouldn't have been so aggressive. I'm sorry. Looking at the angry Goto, Shinichi scratched his head and apologized. Goto stopped and said seriously, I don't care about your attitude, the key is that you can't be so bad to the Lord. However, looking at you now, I guess you should have realized your mistake. The Lord has always been like this. Everyone who has talked to the Lord will be impressed by the Lord. That's true. Chapter 52. You are listening at novelfull.audio. With Goto's help, Shinichi visited the entire Demon Slayer Corps headquarters in the next few days, including the Demon Slayer Corps' accommodation area, training area, crow house for training and raising crows, the logistics house where the hidden department is located, and the medicine house responsible for treating injuries. While visiting the medicine house, Shinichi suddenly thought of the pair of sisters. He didn't know how they were doing now. They should have been safely sent to their relatives' homes by the hidden department members, right? Shinichi also thought of his promise to the stubborn little girl that he would take their will to kill the evil ghosts together. I will. That at the same time, outside the residence of Gyumei on the island of Grief, which was not too far from the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, a pair of young sisters knelt outside the gate. Both of them had extremely firm eyes. They must become swordsmen who can kill evil ghosts. Inside the mansion, Gyumei, who had just returned home, sat on a huge rock with his hands clasped together. Although he was silent, he was very surprised at this time. I didn't expect that the two girls from the medicine house would be so persistent that they would actually find my home. Although I didn't expect it, Xingming's attitude was still very firm. He didn't agree with the two sisters becoming swordsmen. In his opinion, the butterfly sisters might just be emotional because they lost their relatives and wanted to become swordsmen, but becoming a swordsman is not an easy thing. Everything you have to face after becoming a swordsman is also very cruel. If possible, let the two children live as ordinary people. But what Xingming didn't expect was that the sisters actually knelt outside the door of their own house for several days. When they were hungry, they ate some dry food to fill their stomachs. When they were sleepy, the two sisters leaned on each other and curled up to sleep. Namo Amitba. Xingming chanted a Buddhist name in a low voice, and then raised his head on the huge rock. Although his white eyes could not see, his extraordinary perception still made Xingming feel the moisture in the air, as if it was going to rain. Outside the gate, Kane supported the tired Xiaonin and gently leaned her sister's head on her shoulder. She was a little confused. Would there really be any results if she persisted like this? Just when Kane was confused, creak. The wooden door was opened by a pair of big hands, and a tall figure walked in front of the two sisters. Mr. Beiminjiu. Are you willing to teach us? Xiaonin, who was very tired just now, immediately showed an excited expression. Her little head left her sister's shoulder in an instant, and she stood up and looked at the tall figure in front of her expectantly. Namo Amitba. Shinichi. Hey. Shinichi. Are you there? Are you there? The wooden door was slapped by someone. Inside the house, Shinichi, who had closed his eyes to rest, opened his eyes instantly, and a ray of light flashed in the pink eye of his right eye. I don't know where Enji went to have fun. Even if Enji came back, he wouldn't knock on the door so stupidly, so the person outside the door must be Goto. During this period of time, Goto and Shinichi became familiar with each other through frequent contact. The age difference between the two was not big, so they called each other by their names. What's the matter? Shinichi opened the wooden door helplessly. Goto seemed to be asking for his life every time he knocked on the door, as if Shinichi owed him millions. Outside the door, Goto, wearing a striped mask, first scolded Shinichi for being too slow, and then pointed to the figure behind him and said, "Your Nichiren sword is ready." What? My Nichiren sword? Shinichi immediately pushed Goto away when he heard this, and looked at the figure behind Goto with expectation. Standing behind Goto was a man wearing a loose green patterned long coat, his hands in his sleeves, a red fireman mask on his face, his age could not be seen, and a long strip wrapped in white cloth on his back. This is Master Tetsu Shinran from the swordsmith village. He is the one who forged your Nichiren sword. In Shinichi's room, Goto, who was sitting upright, pointed to a man wearing a fireman mask and said. Shinichi nodded and thanked Tetsu Shinran. Thank you for your hard work and help. No, no, no. It is my honor to forge a Nichiren sword for Mr. Moriki. In fact, Mr. Moriki's sword is my first work. I am very happy to have such an opportunity. Tetsu Shinran stretched out his hand and waved it excitedly. From the sound, he seemed to be a very young swordsmith. As he said that, Tetsu Shinran took off the long strip he was carrying. Inside the white cloth was a slender wooden box. When he opened the wooden box, two Nichiren swords of different lengths appeared in front of Shinichi. Shinichi recognized at a glance that one of them was the forest dragon that he had asked the Demon Slayer Corps to repair before, and the other one should be his own sword. As expected, Tetsu Shinran first Mori no Ryu handed it to Shinichi and explained that he had sharpened the broken edge and fulfilled Shinichi's request. Because Shinichi did not ask to restore the length of Mori no Ryu, Tai Shinlian made a scabbard for Mori no Ryu that matched the length. After talking about Mori no Ryu, Tai Shinlian proudly took out another Nichiren sword. Although it was his first work, the pride and confidence in Tai Shinlian's tone were quite obvious, and it was obvious that he was very satisfied with his work. Shinichi took the Nichiren sword and felt it was slightly heavy in his hand. The handle was slightly longer, and it was wrapped with exquisite kapok handle rolls. The blade was in a simple cross shape, with exquisite green patterns. The black scabbard is dotted with green leaf-like patterns, which is simple yet beautiful. Holding the hilt and drawing the sword, a cold light flashed clearly in the room. The dark blade can be felt sharp at a glance. On the blade near the blade tip, one side is engraved with the word and the other side is engraved with the word. Tai Shinlian looked at his work being held in Shinichi's hand, and said with some expectation, I wonder what color Mr. Moriki's Nichiren sword will be. The Nichiren sword is also known as the color-changing sword. After being held by the owner, the blade will change to the corresponding color. which is also the origin of the name of the color-changing sword. Under the gaze of Goto and Tai Shinlian, Shinichi held the Nichiren sword tightly in his hand. After a moment, obvious changes appeared on the blade, a turquoise light flashed, and then spread on the blade like scattered ink. In a blink of an eye, the sun blade in Shinichi's hand showed the same turquoise color as the forest dragon, but it was not over yet. Shinichi seemed to sense something, and then a trace of red light began to flash on the turquoise sun blade. After a while, a series of thin red patterns also appeared on the blade of the sun blade, forming a beautiful two-color sun blade. What beautiful colors! Great! Tai Shinlian danced excitedly at the changes in his work, and Shinichi stared at the two-color sun blade in his hand. Is this my sun blade? Chapter 53. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shinichi. Shinichi. There is a mission. There are frequent disappearances in Gunma Prefecture, Tokyo. It is suspected that there are evil spirits. Please go to Gunma Prefecture immediately to investigate. On the eaves, Shinichi's opened his mouth and loudly conveyed the order. In front of Ing-san, the red and green two-color Nichiren sword stopped in front of a wooden stake. Shinichi turned his head, and his green and pink eyes flashed a hint of understanding. It's been more than 10 days, is there finally a mission? Sheathing the sword casually, Shinichi grabbed the green haori hanging on the branch on the side and set it neatly. 2 Nichiren swords of different lengths were inserted into the belt, and they grabbed the neck of Enji, who was grinning at Izo. 2 minutes after receiving the order, Shinichi carried Enji out of the door of his residence in the Demon Slayer Corps, which shows that he had been prepared for these days. The first mission of Moriki Shinichi, the second-class swordsman of the Demon Slayer Corps, officially began. Shinichi is a very decisive guy. I'm still thinking of sending him off. However, he must be very powerful to become a second-class swordsman. I wish him all the best. Hidden team member Goto looked at Shinichi's back and silently blessed him. Although they didn't spend much time together, Goto became one of Shinichi's few friends in the Demon Slayer Corps. Well, maybe it's more appropriate to describe him as the only one, because Shinichi has never had much contact with other people. These days, in addition to relying on a pair of legs, the most popular means of transportation is probably a horse-drawn carriage. Although there are trains, they are only available in big cities. Don't even think about it in the mountains where the Demon Slayer Corps is. Fortunately, this country is not big. Even if he relies on his legs and a horse-drawn carriage, Shinichi arrived at his destination, Gunma Prefecture, in 2 days. The Takayama village under Gunma Prefecture is the place where disappearances frequently occur. Because of the dense forests here, many villagers in Takayama village are hunter families who rely on hunting for a living. Recently, many cases of missing hunters have occurred in Takayama village. Not just 1 or 2, but more than a dozen or 20 hunters have disappeared in the mountains and forests, including some old hunters with decades of hunting experience. Takayama village has also organized search and rescue teams to search in the mountains, but in the end they found nothing. Even a search and rescue team composed of 4 most experienced hunters could not get out of the mountains and forests. These disappearances are definitely not caused by wild animals, because even the king of beasts, the tiger, cannot deal with so many hunters, so there is only one possibility in the end. Shinichi, who arrived at Takayama village, quickly found the village chief to inquire about the situation. And this gray-haired village chief seemed to be an experienced person, because when the village chief saw the Demon Slayer Corps uniform under Shinichi's feather weave and the 2 Nichiren swords hanging around his waist, he did not show a surprised expression, but instead told Shinichi in detail the specific details of the recent disappearance case. It is hard to believe that the 2 brothers Nakano and Nakata would also disappear. After all, their ancestors are genuine samurai families. Although the family is now in decline, their family's samurai heritage has been passed down to this day. The martial arts and swordsmanship of the 2 are quite powerful, so it is absolutely impossible that wild beasts are rampant. The gray-haired village chief of Takayama village said solemnly. Shinichi sat opposite the village chief, stroking his chin in thought. Village chief, you seem to know who I am, right? The village chief of Takayama village was not surprised to hear this. Looking at Shinichi's uniform, he nodded and said with great emotion, more than 10 years ago, I was fortunate to meet the demon hunter swordsman of your demon slayer corps. Otherwise, my family and I might have died in the mouth of an evil demon, who would have thought that the legendary story was actually true, and there were really terrible evil demons in the world. Fortunately, in reality, there are also brave swordsmen like you in the demon slayer corps. Darkness fights against demons to protect people's safety. In fact, I suspected that demons might be the cause of the disappearances in the mountains, but it was just a guess. After all, unless you see it with your own eyes, it is impossible for people to believe in the existence of demons. Until I saw you, the boy, I was basically sure that the guy in the mountain must be a demon. Shinichi looked at the village chief with some surprise. He didn't expect that the village chief and the demon slayer corps had such a connection, but it was good. With the cooperation of the village chief, it would be easier for Shinichi to carry out the task. According to the information provided by the village chief, the existence of the demon can basically rule out the forests to the north and west of Takayama village. To the east is the main road leading to Numata city. Only the forest to the south of Takayama village is left. Those hunters basically disappeared in this forest, and the search and rescue team that entered this forest did not come back. After roughly determining the location of the demon, Shinichi has always the village chief made a request. In this case, village chief, I would like to ask you to do me a favor. The village chief nodded. Please tell me, I will do my best to fulfill any request, just please help us get rid of this evil demon. Shinichi stood up, the sun blade on his waist collided and made a clicking sound, and the green feather woven also swung gracefully. It is my duty to kill the demon. Don't worry, village chief, my request is actually very simple. In order to avoid attracting the demon, please organize people to close all the entrances to the forest south of Takayama village and don't let anyone enter the forest. I will solve this demon before dawn tomorrow and bring peace to Takayama village. I understand, I will do it right away. Without further delay, after saying goodbye to the village chief, Shinichi immediately took Yuan Air to the forest south of Takayama village. Above the head of the man and the dog, the crowing San flapped his wings, ready to pass on information about the demon at any time. Shinichi ran quickly with his knife in one hand, his deerskin boots stepped on the soft ground, and inevitably a lot of mud and grass debris stuck to the soles of his boots. Before it was completely dark, Shinichi successfully reached the forest in the south. What he saw was a large area of endless tall trees. No wonder most families in Gaoshan village are hunter families. With such a wide forest, it is a pity not to hunt and cut wood, but it is not good news that the forest is too dense. If he only relies on one person to search slowly, I am afraid that Shinichi may not be able to search the entire forest in 7 days and 7 nights. However, Shinichi will not really search slowly. He squatted down, picked up a green grass from the ground, closed his eyes slightly, emptied his heart, and began to operate with a strange breathing frequency, listening to the sound of the vitality of all things breathing. Forest breathing, type 8, Xiao Xiao forest eyes. Soon, Shinichi opened his eyes, and the green pupil of his left eye shone with light, reflecting a large area of vibrant vitality in Shinichi. Although it was blurry, he was sure that the evil ghost that caused more than a dozen hunters to disappear was in this forest. Because in Xiao Xiao forest eyes, deep in the forest, the vitality of the forest, which should have been stable and gentle, seemed to be stirred up by some existence, like waves constantly surging. Chapter 54. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's time to work, Enji, get moving. Shinichi patted Enji's butt, but Enji lay on the ground and hummed, ignoring Shinichi. Shinichi was a little helpless. He knew that Enji was in a bad mood. However, before Shinichi could coax Enji, the crow Aizo that had been hovering above his head suddenly flew down and pecked Enji's head with its sharp beak. Lazy dog. Big lazy dog. Cowardly dog. Cowardly dog who can't find ghosts. Aizo activated the skill taunt at Enji. Aw. Enji, who was pecked hard, jumped more than 1 meter high on the spot, with his tail erected high. The originally cute Shiba Inu's smiley face instantly became ferocious, baring his big teeth and howling at Aizo crazily, but when Aizo flapped his wings, Enji could only stand on the ground and stare blankly, because he had no wings. However, Yuan Air, who was mocked by Sanyi, seemed to be aroused. After glaring at Ing Sanyi in the sky, he shook his chubby body, and then a scarlet light flashed in Yuan Air's small eyes, swish. A black lightning-like figure rushed into the forest. Shinichi stared blankly at the interaction between the dog and the crow. Good guy, I didn't expect Ing Sanyi to be so smart and know how to provoke. Shinichi waved his hand, and Ing Sanyi immediately cooperated and fell on his shoulder. Shinichi stretched out his fingers to rub Ing Sanyi's head, and then took out a piece of torn dorayaki from the silver mirror hanging on his waist and handed it to Ing Sanyi's crow's beak. Ing Sanyi happily opened his crow's beak and swallowed the dorayaki in one bite. This was Shinichi's accidental discovery that Ing Sanyi was as tasteful as him and like dorayaki with additions. Goto is as tasteless as Enji. It is unreasonable that he can't swallow such delicious and sweet food. Okay, it's time to work after eating. Let's meet the evil ghost friend in the forest. Shinichi raised his hand to let Izo fly back to the sky, and he took a step back and bent his body. In forest breathing, a trace of hot air came out from the corner of Shinichi's mouth, and the next second, snap. The ground under Shinichi's feet cracked slightly, and his body rushed into the forest like an arrow from a string. The crescent moon was hanging high in the forest. In the dark cave, a pair of green eyes suddenly opened, and a low snoring roar echoed in the cave. A sharp voice full of oppression suddenly sounded, "What's the smell? A ghost is provoking me." The sharp voice was full of anger and irritability. As soon as the voice fell, snoring and roaring sounds rang out in the cave, one after another, endless. The tip of the nose moved slightly, and Shinichi's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a mocking smile. Although his nose was not as good as Yuan Air's, he could smell the fox smell in the air clearly. The mountain forest in the middle of the night was filled with a gloomy and terrifying atmosphere. Under the pale moonlight, the shadows of the trees were swaying, and the subtle rustling sound was like the whisper of a devil. Shinichi simply stopped and stood straight in place, with one hand slightly pressing on the handle of the sun blade. A yellow leaf drifted in the breeze and gradually fell towards Shinichi's shoulder. Just as the leaf was about to touch Shinichi's shoulder, Shinichi's left green eye shone brightly. Come on. Breath of the forest, 12 form, slash of the forest, puff. Beyond the speed that ordinary people can observe, he turned around and slashed with a sword. The green slash cut off half of the evil ghost's body before the evil ghost behind him could react. Ah! With a miserable howl, the blood of the ghost splashed, and a red claw with a large piece of flesh and blood fell to the ground, while the broken body of the evil ghost who attacked was desperately retreating and pulling away from Shinichi, keeping the posture of drawing the sword and slashing. Shinichi looked at the howling evil ghost opposite with contempt, and rotated his right wrist for a circle. The two-color sun will sword in his hand passed through the air with a slight sound of breaking through the air. The ghost blood sticking to the blade was thrown away by Shinichi. It was simply a dream to want to sneak attack him under Xiao Xiaosun's eyes. The 12th form, the forest sword slash, is a very easy to understand move. It is also a sword form created by Shinichi himself. It can respond to changes with the same force. Before being attacked by the enemy, it can be launched with the momentum of thunder and launch a powerful slash. Shinichi's motivation for creating this sword form is also very simple. It is probably influenced by his previous life. Under the influence of some film and television dramas, Shinichi, who holds the Sun Will sword, subconsciously has the idea of practicing sword slashing, and finally, after countless times of practice, he successfully combined the sword slashing in his mind with the forest breathing, and finally, more than 10 days ago, he successfully created the powerful 12 form. Shinichi's training was not a simple one. He found a waterfall more than 20 meters high near the headquarters of the Demon Slayer Corps to practice. He succeeded in practicing under the rush of thousands of kilograms of water. Therefore, the power of the 12 form should not be underestimated. Shinichi held the Sun Will sword in one hand, the tip of the sword touched the ground, and his eyes of different colors looked at the evil ghost opposite with a scrutinizing look. It was a female ghost wearing an old kimono, with a hideous face. At this time, the left arm cut off by Shinichi was slowly wriggling to repair. Among the messy hair, 2 pointed brown fox ears were extremely conspicuous. Obviously, this was a fox ghost. The fox ghost's pink eyes were full of hostility and fear. It seemed that he was frightened by Shinichi's strength. His body trembled slightly, as if he was going to run away in the next second. Don't hide. I smell more than just a fox. You are so mean. You sent the weakest ghost to fool me. Do you think I am a beggar? Shinichi ignored the shivering brown fox ghost and shouted loudly to the empty surroundings. As expected, as soon as Shinichi finished speaking, there were bursts of rustling sounds around him, and then, one after another, figures walked out of the deep forest, under Shinichi's gaze, one after another, like zombies, walked out slowly. They were dressed in various clothes and held various weapons in their hands, hunting knives, hunting rifles, axes, bows and arrows. Shinichi could tell the identities of these people at a glance. They should be the missing hunters in Gaoshan village, but now these hunters are in extremely bad condition. The vitality of their bodies is very weak, and even two hunters have completely lost their vitality. The hunters' cheeks were sunken and their eyes were blank. If you look closely, you can see a trace of pink marks in everyone's eyes. Shinichi frowned slightly. He could see that these hunters were being manipulated, like puppets, and the guys who controlled these hunters should be the two guys in hiding. Recently, I have seen a lot of people asking about the heroine. In fact, I wanted to slowly describe the emotional line at the beginning so that everyone can naturally accept the existence of the heroine, but everyone seems to be very curious, so I will announce the answer. In fact, my hint is also very obvious. The heroine is Kocho Shinobu. Like my previous work, I want to build up the emotional line between Shinichi and Shinobu little by little. The relationship between the two will not be the kind of fast food love that falls in love at first sight, but will come together little by little over time. This will be a very delicate story. I hope you can accept it. Chapter 55. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Useless thing. How could I have a mother like you? Trash. A sharp and piercing voice suddenly sounded behind the many controlled hunters. After hearing this voice, the brown-eared female fox demon that attacked Shinichi actually whimpered, fell to her knees with a plop, and her body shook like a sieve. Shinichi tilted his head and looked sideways in the direction of the sound. He saw a tall figure appearing behind the hunters. With the moonlight, Shinichi clearly saw what the person looked like: a strong and sturdy body, a naked upper body full of steel-cast muscles, red claws that were extremely creepy, a rough face with fangs and teeth, extremely ferocious, and two black fox ears standing straight up on the top of the head, a strong black-eared fox demon. However, what caught Shinichi's attention was not the black-eared fox ghost, but the small figure on the black-eared fox ghost's broad shoulders. The body was like that of a 3 or 4-year-old child, but the head was 3 or 4 times the size of an ordinary child. The face was ferocious, the fangs were curled, and there was a pair of pink fox ears on the top of the head, but the weirdest thing was the eyes of the pink-eared fox ghost. In the narrow and pale green eyes, there seemed to be some kind of light slowly moving. Just a glance at it made people feel dizzy. The sharp and piercing sound seemed to come from the mouth of the pink-eared fox ghost. Thinking of it just calling the brown-eared fox ghost mother, Shinichi couldn't help but look at the 3 fox ghosts a few more times. Can evil ghosts get together now? Or are you playing a very novel family game? Shinichi couldn't help but tease. Upon hearing this, the pink-eared fox ghost on the black-eared fox ghost's shoulder was immediately furious, screaming and saying, "Tear this guy apart for me. I want to eat the meat sauce made of him." Buzz. Green rays of light flashed in the eyes of many hunters. The next second, many hunters raised various weapons and rushed towards Shinichi like crazy. These hunters were just controlled by the evil spirits. In a sense, they were still human beings, so Shinichi naturally could not kill them all, but this did not mean that Shinichi had to passively avoid the attacks of these hunters. If he could not use the Sun-Will sword, he would just put on the scabbard of the Sun-Will sword. Shinichi swung the scabbard of the Sun-Will sword and rushed into the crowd like a flexible dancer, knocking these hunters to the ground one by one. Controlled. Do you think I will be restrained? Naive, I will knock them all down for you. Go and lie down. We don't have time to protect these burdens while fighting the evil spirits. In this state of mind, Shinichi did not hold back. Every time the scabbard hit the hunters' heads, the force was just right. The hunters were confused and hurt, and they fell asleep. After a while, the ground was full of hunters. Shinichi picked up the scabbard and looked at the pink-eared fox ghost. He raised his eyebrows and said nothing, but he said everything. That's it. I'm so angry. Why are you two trash just watching? Why don't you do anything? How can I have such useless parents like you? You are garbage. Trash. Idiots. Omit dozens of swear words. The pink-eared fox ghost opened its ferocious mouth and shouted resentfully. The brown-eared fox ghost, who had been kneeling, immediately stood up as if in response to the pressure. The arm that was cut off by Shinichi had almost recovered. A fierce expression appeared on his face. The body in kimono immediately got on all fours like a beast and roared at Shinichi. Blood demon art fox hidden kill. Swish. Shinichi's eyes suddenly blurred, and the brown-eared fox demon who had just bared his teeth disappeared in an instant. In the moment when Shinichi was slightly stunned, several sharp sounds of breaking through the air sounded in his ears. With his extraordinary perception, Shinichi immediately dodged to the side, and at the same time, the sheathed sun-will sword on his shoulder blocked it. Chilla. A streak of sparks burst out on the surface of the sheath of the sun-will sword, and the air fluctuated slightly. Shinichi saw the brown-eared fox demon hidden in it. Is the ability of this fox demon to interfere with other people's vision and hide attacks? It's okay to play this trick in front of others, but in front of me, isn't it a joke? Shinichi almost laughed out loud. Under his eighth form, Xiao eyes, the vitality of the brown-eared fox demon was more obvious than the lice on a bald head. Bang! After dodging the attack of the brown-eared fox demon, Shinichi slammed the sun blade and its scabbard into the ground. The scabbard immediately sank into the mud and stood on the ground. Shinichi took advantage of the situation and instantly pulled out the sun blade. The blade with green and bright red patterns flashed a cold light. Forest breathing third form thorns, entangled, countless green slashes snaked out, like countless thorns, instantly covering the space in front of Shinichi, and the brown-eared fox ghost, which had used the blood vampire technique to hide in the air, immediately let out a piercing scream. The thorn-like slash made it feel a tearing pain as if it was being cut by 1,000 knives when it moved a little bit. Waste father. Why don't you do it? Why? When the brown-eared fox ghost screamed, the pink-eared fox ghost immediately aimed at the black-eared fox ghost's ears and began to roar. On the black-eared fox ghost's ferocious face, there was actually a trace of hesitation. It said in a dull voice, "Lingzi, I promised not to kill minors. I don't care. I want that guy to die now. I want to eat his meat. Go. You owe me this. Hurry." The pink-eared fox ghost continued to roar, but the black-eared fox ghost's sturdy body only moved slightly, but there was still hesitation on his face. A resentful expression immediately appeared on the face of the pink-eared fox ghost. The next second, its narrow and long pale green eyes lit up. Blood demon art fox temptation, that the black eyes of the black-eared fox ghost were immediately soaked in a touch of pale green, and its sturdy body trembled violently, and a touch of gold and iron appeared on its body. Blood demon art steel fox body. Then, a fist the size of a human head clenched fiercely and rushed straight towards Shinichi. Shinichi, who was about to kill the brown fox ghost with a knife, felt the whistling fist wind behind him, and without thinking, he immediately turned the blade. Forest breathing one form iron birch slash. Bang. The sun-will sword wrapped in huge vitality and the iron fist the size of a human head collided with each other, and the sound of gold and iron clashing sounded. An invisible air wave suddenly spread with the two as the center. Crack. In the end, Shinichi's sun-will sword was better. The sharp sun-will sword cut deeply into the black-eared fox ghost's fist along the gap between its fists, and blood splattered. Swish. The terrifying claws rushed towards Shinichi's heart behind him. Shinichi's expression remained unchanged, but he finally gave up the choice of chopping off the black-eared fox demon's arm. Instead, he pulled out the Nichiren sword in the black-eared fox demon's fist, blocked the attack from behind, and kicked the brown-eared fox demon away with a fierce kick. At this time, the other iron fist of the black-eared fox demon also hit Shinichi's head. In this passive situation, Shinichi could only choose to use the one type to block the fist again, and use the reaction force to distance himself from the three fox demons. Chapter 56. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holding the handle of the Sun-Will sword with both hands, Shinichi was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the three fox ghosts cooperated well. However, the pink-eared fox ghost who failed to succeed now began to spit at the other two fox ghosts, and the eyes of the brown-eared fox ghost and the black fox ghost all turned pale green at this time, just like those controlled hunters, standing woodenly and being scolded. TSK TSK TSK, look, this is the family relationship between evil ghosts. The pink-eared fox ghost called his parents, but the sharp and harsh insults made people feel that the relationship between these three fox ghosts was more like mortal enemies. What a twisted and perverted family relationship, pink-eared dirty fox, let me send your family to hell for a reunion. When you get to the underworld, you can quarrel slowly. Shinichi raised the Sun-Will sword again and teased loudly. What did you say? You dare to insult me? I will eat you. The pink-eared fox ghost bared its teeth and roared. As it roared, the brown-eared fox ghost and the black-eared fox ghost immediately pounced on Shinichi again. Shinichi was not in a hurry. He took a step back with his right leg, increased the breathing rate of Mori breathing to the fastest, stepped forward and slashed. The Sun-Will sword instantly fought with the two fox demons. The sound of metal clashing immediately became endless, and a stream of sparks lit up from time to time, mixed with the angry and harsh insults of the pink-eared fox demon, the roar of the black-eared fox demon, and the screams of the brown-eared fox demon. Bang! The two-handed sword collided heavily with the black-eared fox demon's fists. In the moment of stalemate, Shinichi freed one hand like lightning, and instantly pulled out the short sword Mori Dragon from his waist, held it with his backhand, and pierced the brown-eared fox demon's head from the chin like a string of candied haws. That's all. Is this all you guys can do? It's too weak, isn't it? Shinichi controlled the two fox demons and mocked the pink-eared fox demon who looked weak on the black-eared fox demon's shoulder. Of course there's more to it than that. Boy! You're too proud. What you should be most careful of is not my useless parents, but my eyes. For some reason, the pink-eared fox ghost suddenly calmed down, and even had a hint of charm, as if the previous hysteria was all fake. Shinichi was slightly startled, but then he met the pale green eyes of the pink-eared fox ghost. Blood demon art fox confusion. Buzz. Shinichi's eyes were instantly covered by a large area of pale green light, and then he felt that the whole world seemed to be pressed on the slow-motion button, and everything, including his own movements, became extremely slow. From the outside, Shinichi's movements immediately slowed down, and his two heterochromatic eyes were also covered by a layer of pale green light. The black fox ghost took the opportunity to use his two big hands to grab Shinichi's arms and tied him up tightly. Ha ha ha. Arrogant little ghost. Finally got fooled, right? No matter how strong your swordsmanship is, you still fell into my hands and became a dish. Well, it's just that the wisteria smell all over your body is disgusting. It's better to wash it before eating. The pink-eared fox ghost laughed triumphantly. The pale green light in the eyes of the brown and black fox ghosts also dissipated. The brown fox ghost immediately stood aside like a submissive servant, and the black fox ghost's ferocious face showed some hesitation. However, before the pink-eared fox ghost could be proud for long, her laughter was soon interrupted by a flash of sharper and more deafening wolf howls. The sudden wolf howl instantly attracted the attention of the three fox ghosts. In the darkness, a black wolfhound with a nimble figure slowly walked out of the forest. The bright black hair was smooth, and the white hair on the neck further highlighted the temperament of the Wolf King. The claws that popped out of the limbs flashed with cold light, and the sharp teeth under the slender wolf kiss were clear and conspicuous, but most importantly, the strong ghost aura on the black wolf dog made the three fox ghosts feel a little pressure. It's you. You are the ghost who provoked me. Get out. This is our hunting area. The pink-eared fox ghost shouted fiercely at the black wolf dog that suddenly appeared. The black wolf dog on the opposite side not only did not retreat, but also showed human contempt. First, it yawned loudly, and then mockingly snored provocatively at the three evil ghosts. Asshole! The pink-eared fox ghost was furious. In its view, this black wolf dog that suddenly appeared was a fellow evil ghost who came to grab territory. For creatures like ghosts with a strong sense of territory, it is absolutely intolerable. However, before the pink-eared fox ghost took any action, a boastful voice sounded in its ears. "Ah, I'm being controlled, so powerless, so ashamed, I hope no one else sees me." The familiar voice made the pink-eared fox ghost's eyes widen. He turned his head sharply and saw Shinichi's face full of teasing expression. At this time, his eyes were clear and bright, and there was no sign of being controlled. "I'm being controlled, hee, I was kidding you. Yuji!" Shinichi suddenly shouted. "Ah!" The black wolfhound, which was standing steadily, suddenly became excited. Swoosh! No one could see clearly. Like a black lightning, the black figure rushed straight to the black-eared fox ghost's shoulder. The pink-eared fox ghost only felt his body tremble. When he reacted again, a wolf mouth full of sharp teeth was already in front of him. Crack! Before he could even scream, half of the pink-eared fox ghost's head was instantly bitten to pieces by the demonized Yuji. Well, it seems that Yuji will be nicknamed the Head Crusher in the future. Lingzi. The black-eared fox ghost actually let out a dull cry when he saw the pink-eared fox ghost's head being bitten to pieces. "Hey, don't worry, you will be reunited soon." Shinichi grinned, and crack! A series of green light flashed, and the huge arms of the black fox ghost were instantly cut into countless pieces. Shinichi also broke free from the restraints, and the brown-eared fox ghost screamed and raised its claws to pounce on Shinichi, but Shinichi, who had no intention of playing around, would not give them another chance. Breath of the Forest, 7th type, wood dragon sky flying, flash. Buzz. The blades of the two swords, which were intertwined in green and red, hummed, and the green light formed a mighty and ferocious roaring dragon in the air. The dragon's body swam, and its posture was mighty and graceful. At the same time, it flashed in an instant, and puffed. Two bloody fox ghost heads soared into the sky, being stepped on by the claws of the demon-transformed Yuaner. Half of the pink-eared fox ghost's head barely recovered an eyeball. The first time he saw the light again, he saw two fox ghost heads falling in front of him. Waste! Waste! You are waste! I knew it a long time ago. You two useless parents. You are God's revenge on me. How could I have parents like you? I won't accept it. I won't accept it. The pink-eared fox ghost cried desperately and resentfully. The black-eared fox ghost, whose head had not yet been completely reduced to ashes, opened its mouth, but could not say anything. Shinichi came to the side of the pink-eared fox ghost with the Sunwolf sword. Without any hesitation, he raised the Sunwolf sword, and the green branches instantly wrapped around the blade. The sword light slashed down, and the blood demon technique, vitality absorption, was instantly activated. As the pink-eared fox ghost was reduced to ashes, scenes were also displayed in front of Shinichi. Chapter 57. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the Meiji era, a couple in a wealthy family in Saitama Prefecture, Tokyo, gave birth to a girl. Because they were nearly 40 years old when they got the child, the girl's parents doted on the child. The girl was also very competitive. She was smart and clever at a young age. She was known as a child prodigy when she was 3 years old. If life could continue like this, the future of this family would definitely be happy. Unfortunately, a sudden fire completely broke it all. The originally wealthy family was burned into poverty by the fire, and the smart girl was also disfigured by the fire. But for the girl, the most painful thing is far more than that. Because of her parents' doting, the girl was accustomed to a rich life with clothes and food provided. But now her life is worse than that of a beggar. The cruel reality gradually distorted the girl's character, making her increasingly resentful of her parents for not being able to provide her with a wealthy life as before. She insulted her incompetent parents every day, but she never thought about whose playfulness caused the fire that caused all this. The girl's mother was a cowardly woman. The only thing she could do when facing her daughter's insults every day was to wash her face with tears. The daughter's father was also a man who spoiled his daughter too much. Seeing his daughter's increasingly distorted character, the daughter's father did not think about correcting his daughter, but thought about doing everything he could to meet his daughter's requirements. Gradually, the family changed. Under the influence of the distorted daughter, they learned to cheat, steal, and learn all kinds of depraved and shameless means. The daughter's mother was so cowardly that she would not refuse any request from her daughter, and the daughter's father, although he had a trace of conscience, could not resist the doting on his daughter in the end. But fate had long been destined. If you do too much evil, you will eventually be punished. A family that was exposed for cheating was attacked by indignant people, and finally the scarred family was casually abandoned by the stinking ditch. Perhaps it was the girl's strong reluctance and resentful evil thoughts that attracted a certain existence that happened to pass by. Under the impulse of that adult, 3 fox ghosts were born into the world. Among them, the pink-eared fox ghost that the girl turned into had the darkest and most resentful heart, but the strongest one was the black-eared fox ghost that the girl's father turned into. Perhaps the last conscience had not yet been extinguished. The black-eared fox ghost rarely rejected his daughter's request to kill people at will for the first time, and made an agreement that he would never harm minors. In this way, the 3 fox ghosts killed nearly 100 people in more than 10 years, and the most ridiculous thing was that the agreement made by the black-eared fox ghost was a complete joke. Whenever the pink-eared fox ghost wanted to attack those underage children, the black-eared fox ghost would verbally persuade them, but once the pink-eared fox ghost spoke, the black-eared fox ghost would no longer stop it. The blood ghost technique of the pink-eared fox ghost had no effect on the black-eared fox ghost. The reason why it was controlled by the pink-eared fox ghost was entirely because of its extremely twisted doting on its daughter. Seeing the pink-eared fox ghost disappearing in front of him with a resentful expression, tears suddenly welled up in the black-eared fox ghost's head, and the memories of his life gradually emerged. The black-eared fox ghost opened his big mouth full of fangs and wailed, "No. Lingzi. It's all because of Dad's uselessness. It's Dad's uselessness. It's Dad who can't give you the life you want, it's all my fault." Shinichi pulled out the Nichiren sword, walked to the black-eared fox ghost's head, squatted down, and said with a hint of disgust, "It's really your fault. You have indulged a monster with a resentful heart. If you can discipline your own daughter and give her the right ideas, none of this will happen. Indulgence is the most poisonous poison in the world, and you, who have the ability to stop all these sins, chose to indulge, which is a greater sin than sin. Go to hell and repent with your daughter." Puff. The sun blade pierced into the head of the black-eared fox demon, and the vitality was activated. The demon's head was turned into ashes. At the same time, the brown-eared fox demon, who had not said a word from beginning to end, also turned into ashes. Shinichi just shook his head at this pitiful woman. The 3 fox demons turned into ashes, and the special mark in the closed eyes of the hunters lying on the ground also dissipated. Ka! Ka! Shinichi successfully killed 3 evil demons. On Shinichi's shoulder, the crow Izo looked very happy and waved his wings, and the demon-like Enji also lifted the black wolf dog description at this time, and turned back into a chubby little Shiba Inu, rubbing Shinichi's trouser legs for praise. Shinichi put the sun blade sheath standing on the ground back into his waist, swish. The sun blade was sheathed, and he casually patted the dust on the green feather fabric. Enji, Izo, we should go. The sun rose in the eastern sky, and the sun was shining completely. Before the earth, the village chief of Takayama village brought many villagers and carried out more than a dozen extremely weak hunters and 2 hunters who died unfortunately from the southern forest. The pink-eared fox ghost has a blood demon art of control. In order to pursue the freshness of human flesh, the pink-eared fox ghost generally does not choose to kill all humans after catching them, but uses blood demon art to control these humans, like keeping them in captivity, and eat them at any time. When the village chief of Takayama village finished saving people and turned around to thank the young demon slayer swordsman, he was surprised to find that the figure wearing a green feather cloth was gone. The image of the demon slayer team protecting humans in the dark night suddenly appeared vividly in the heart of the village chief of Takayama village, which made this respected existence respectful. The matter of Takayama village came to an end, and Shinichi embarked on a new journey. Again, in the next month or so, Shinichi received 4 more missions to kill evil spirits, but one of them was fake, and was just a trick by a charlatan with some magic tricks, but the other 3 were real evil spirit incidents, and Shinichi was no longer acting alone. Every time he performed a mission, some members of the Demon Slayer team would come forward to seek a team, from low-level GUE-level swordsman to the same level B-level swordsman. Gradually, a rumor spread among the Demon Slayer team that when you meet a B-level swordsman with a fat Shiba Inu who likes sweets, you can perform the mission with confidence, because even if you step into the underworld while fighting the evil spirit, as long as you say that you like the Dorayaki of the B-level swordsman, he can pull you back from the underworld. Of course, you'd better really eat the Dorayaki given by the swordsman, otherwise the swordsman will be angry and will be petty and take out a small notebook to write down your name. Shinichi, slander. Total slander. I was just trying to remember the names of my teammates. Chapter 58. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Aizo, where is this place? It looks like the scenery is pretty good. Shinichi looked at the island he had just landed on with interest. Aizo on his shoulder combed the feathers on his wings, and then answered loudly, "This is Hachiho Island in the Aizu Islands." Hachiho Island. The name is quite special, but there are also evil spirits on such an isolated island. Shinichi touched Enji in his arms and said curiously. Not really. It's just that many caravans or fleets disappeared for no reason near Hachiho Island, so you need to investigate, Shinichi. Ing-san said loudly. Shinichi shrugged indifferently. He had experienced similar things before. The Demon Slayer Corps is not omnipotent. Many times, it is impossible to judge whether there are really evil spirits causing trouble, so most of the time, it depends on the active investigation of the Demon Slayer Corps members. But at this point, Shinichi suddenly remembered something. Aizo, I remember there seemed to be a teammate this time. I wonder where he is now. Hearing this, Yingzo also flapped his wings, took off from Shinichi's shoulder, and flew into the sky, as if to find the teammate who had not yet met up. At the same time, on Hachiho Island, which was shrouded in the night, under the dim moonlight, a thin figure was staggering and running away in the mountains and forests. The boy's pure white Confucian robe was covered with dust and sweat, and there were many small cuts on his bare calves and feet. Although his black hair was tied up, it still looked messy because of his embarrassing escape. On a face half covered by a bandage, there were a pair of yellow and blue-green eyes. The most peculiar thing was that a pure white slender snake was coiled around the neck of the fleeing boy, spitting out scarlet snake tongue from time to time. Run! Run out of here! I don't want to die, I don't want to be eaten, I want to live well. The boy screamed frantically in his heart, and the huge free body like a nightmare was torturing his spirit all the time. The rustling sound above his head at night was a hypnotic magic song, the dim dungeon was a suffocating coffin, and the cold greed of the tribe was a murderous blade. The cold touch of the partner named on his neck made the boy barely come back to his senses from fear. He didn't dare to look back. He only knew that he had to run forward desperately. Escape from this cruel family, escape from that terrible, evil ghost. Shinichi soon saw his teammate, but was a little surprised, because he didn't expect his teammate to be this one. The black uniform of the Demon Slayer Corps, the white cape with flowing fire patterns, the golden red hair, the face of an owl, the spirited face, is the flame pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps, Rengoku Makijuro. Mr. Rengoku, it's you. No, there are already pillar-level swordsmen, so why do I need to come here? Shinichi said with a smile. Makijuro crossed his arms and also smiled. Long time no see, Shinichi, I have heard about your deeds recently. Very good, of course, you don't have to be surprised to see me. A few days ago, the water pillar retired, and the pillar-level swordsman was vacant again, so my jurisdiction has also become larger. A person's energy is limited, so even a pillar will sometimes need help. During the days in the Demon Slayer Corps, the pillar-level swordsman Shinichi had only seen the flame pillar in front of him and the newly promoted rock pillar. As for other pillar-level swordsmen, Shinichi had never seen them before. When he heard Makijuro mention other pillar-level swordsmen, Shinichi became interested. So he asked, how many pillar-level swordsmen does the Demon Slayer Corps have now? Makijuro said with a serious face, after the water pillar retired, the only pillar-level swordsmen in the Demon Slayer Corps are me, the rock pillar, and the wind pillar. However, if nothing unexpected happens, an outstanding junior will soon be promoted to the pillar. What? Shinichi was shocked. He didn't expect that the Demon Slayer Corps, which is so big, now has only 3 pillar-level swordsmen. Isn't this a joke? Even if you count the one who will be promoted that Makijuro just mentioned, there are only 4 pillar-level swordsmen, too few. Compared with the evil spirits, the Demon Slayer Corps has too few high-end combat forces. Shinichi shook his head. There are 12 demon moons on the evil spirit side. Shinichi didn't know the strength of the upper-rank demons, but judging from the lower-rank demon that he met that day, the strength of the lower-rank demons was far beyond that of ordinary swordsmen, not to mention the mysterious upper-rank demons. At least for hundreds of years, the Demon Slayer Corps has never killed an upper-rank demon. With the current strength, can the Demon Slayer Corps really defeat the ancestor of demons, Muzan? Shinichi's face was a little heavy. However, although there are not many pillar-level swordsmen now, there are many excellent juniors like you, Shinichi. I believe that the future of our Demon Slayer Corps will definitely be even stronger. Seeing Shinichi's face, Makijuro spoke to comfort him. That's right, who can predict the future? Shinichi cheered up and continued to ask, who is the pillar to be promoted? Yuzui Tengen, a very outstanding junior, is said to have been a very powerful ninja from a long-standing ninja family. Makijuro said loudly. Shinichi's eyes widened. Who? Yuzui Tengen. A figure covered in jewels and gems instantly appeared in his mind. That gorgeous middle school guy, he became a pillar. It was really unexpected. While Shinichi was thinking, Makijuro walked to his side, patted his shoulder with his hand, and said with encouragement, "Come on, Shinichi, your excellence is also admirable. I believe that it won't be too long before our Demon Slayer Corps will have another powerful pillar-level swordsman." Shinichi smiled. "I will. The condition for becoming a pillar is to kill 50 demons or successfully kill one of the 12 demon moons, either of which is quite difficult. However, if we count the first evil demon Karasuma killed by Shinichi, Shinichi has killed nearly 50 demons until today, but Shinichi's pride did not let him rely on these to negotiate with his Lord Yoya to become a pillar. In Shinichi's view, to become a pillar of the Demon Slayer Corps, you must start from the day you join the Demon Slayer Corps, either kill 50 demons or kill the 12 demon moons. This is Shinichi's own persistence and pride. In this way, Shinichi and Makijuro started their investigation on Hachiho Island while talking all the way. Ah! Unji, who was originally staggering on the road, suddenly stood up straight, and then suddenly howled in one direction. The sudden situation also made Shinichi and Makijuro stunned for a moment. Suddenly, in the shadow of the forest not far away, a huge figure suddenly rushed out. Oily black hair, scarlet eyes, hideous and ugly face that did not look like a human, the corners of the mouth were grinning all the way to the roots of the ears, sharp fangs were exposed, and the long scarlet sticky tongue was like a snake tongue, spitting and sucking. What was terrifying was that below the belly button was a huge snake body like a python, covered with fine scales, and its sharp green claws were grabbing a thin boy, and it was about to open its mouth and bite the boy. Breath of the Forest, Type 3 Thorn. Breath of the Flame, Type 1 Shiranui. In a flash, 2 slashes faster than lightning were swung out in an instant. Chapter 59. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The moment the demon appeared, Shinichi and Makijuro reacted almost instantly, and the 2 fastest sword forms of Forest Breathing and Flame Breathing were slashed out in an instant. The speed was so fast that people could not see how the 2 people drew their swords. Flame Breathing, one form, Shiranui. The extremely fast slash like a burst of fire, with the bursting flames of the sword light, often cut off the demon's head before the demon reacted. Forest Breathing, 3 form Thorns. The blade stabbed straightly, and the stab full of vitality could bring the demon hell pain of thousands of thorns piercing its body. The 2 people who launched the attack at the same time seemed to have a telepathic connection. The Sun Will Sword with rolling flames instantly cut off the head of the suddenly appearing snake girl demon, and the 2-color Sun Will Sword with a green light continued to stab, cutting the snake girl demon's body into several pieces, and also saved the boy in the hands of the snake girl demon. Shinichi pulled the boy from mid-air behind him. The snake ghost's head was spinning in the air, and there was still a trace of shock and confusion in her scarlet eyes, until her head fell to the ground with a plop, and she saw her huge body was cut into several pieces. It realized that it seemed to have been beheaded. And the boy that it had coveted for 12 years was protected behind it by a little ghost holding a green and red interwoven long sword. No. How is it possible? What's going on? It shouldn't be like this. It hasn't enjoyed the boy's flesh and blood yet. It's unwilling. However, no matter how unwilling the snake ghost was, it eventually turned into ashes, and didn't say a word from beginning to end. Watching the snake ghost turn into ashes, Shinichi let down his guard, and then remembered the boy. Shinichi put away the Sun-Will sword and turned to look at the boy. Makijuro also put away his scabbard, frowned and scanned the surroundings. After confirming that there was no other evil spirit, he also walked to Shinichi's side. The boy who was rescued by the two also had a pair of heterochromatic eyes, but the boy seemed to be still immersed in fear. His heterochromatic eyes unconsciously widened, and his pupils were slightly dilated. He did not respond to Shinichi's questioning at all. After asking for a long time, the boy did not respond. Shinichi just looked at Makijuro and said helplessly, "Mr. Rengoku, why don't you ask him? He is about the same age as Kyojuro, and you should have some experience in communicating with him." Although Shinichi is not much older than the boy in front of him, Shinichi has no experience in communicating with people of the same age. Makijuro looked at the boy full of fear and sighed helplessly. Then he stepped forward and comforted the boy with gentle words. Finally, under Makijuro's consolation and confirming that the terrible snake ghost had been killed, the boy gradually calmed down. It was also at this time that Shinichi noticed that there was a live little white snake wrapped around the boy's neck. "What's your name?" "I, Iguro." "Aba and I." The boy trembled and said his name. Shinichi and Makijuro looked at each other. "Iguro Abanai. Is there anyone living on this island?" Makijuro nodded, and said with a serious expression, "There is indeed an Iguro family on Hachiho Island, but this family is very mysterious and extremely averse to contact with the outside world. I have only heard of it. Since this child is from the Iguro family, let's send him home quickly. However, I am a little worried that the evil ghost just now will break into this child's family." Shinichi looked at Iguro Abanai, who was cowering behind Makijuro, and always felt that things were not that simple, but there seemed to be no other choice at the moment, so he agreed with Makijuro's opinion, and the two of them took Abanai to find the Iguro family. Along the way, Abanai just silently pulled a corner of Makijuro's cloak, his eyes full of loneliness, and he didn't know what he was thinking about. Half of his face was wrapped in bandages, and his expression couldn't be seen clearly. Shinichi could clearly feel Abanai's depressed mood. Although he didn't know what happened, Shinichi hesitated for a while and took out a piece of dorayaki from the silver mirror hanging on his waist. Of course, this dorayaki was just an ordinary dorayaki, the kind that Shinichi bought at the market. After all, he had teamed up with other members of the Demon Slayer team many times. Even if Shinichi didn't understand, he knew that not everyone had the same noble taste as him, so Shinichi also prepared a lot of dorayaki with normal flavors and other sweets. Anyway, the space in the silver mirror was empty. Handing the dorayaki to Abanai, this action made Abanai stunned. Looking at the dorayaki in front of her, she was a little at a loss. "Come on, you look like you haven't eaten properly for several days, right? Fill your stomach first. I'm a swordsman of the Demon Slayer team." Shinichi Mori, that yellow-haired uncle, is the flame pillar Rengoku Makijuro of the Demon Slayer Corps. With us here, you don't have to worry about the evil spirits hurting you. Shinichi stuffed the dorayaki into Abanai's hand and patted his shoulder. Abanai looked at the dorayaki in his hand, a little dazed. He really hadn't eaten properly for several days. In fact, in that dark and airtight dungeon, although there were exquisite meals every day, the strong greasy smell made it impossible for him to eat properly. In addition, facing the terrifying death threat of the snake girl ghost, how could Abanai have the heart to eat? However, Shinichi's words just now made Abanai feel a little more at ease, and his stomach also had some reactions, but he was still a little hesitant because he didn't want to show his face under the bandage. In order to relax the atmosphere, Shinichi took the initiative to ask, "By the way, is this little white snake on your neck your pet?" "It's pretty cute." "No, not a pet, it's a partner, Kabashimaru. Obanei finally spoke up and explained softly that the cabana on his neck was his only comfort in that dim dungeon, and he had long regarded it as a life-and-death companion. Oh. I understand, don't get me wrong, I also have a very good companion, you see, it's the fat Shiba Inu in the front, don't look at its fat head and big ears, it's actually very powerful and obedient. Shinichi smiled and pointed at Yuenji who was chasing the smell in front. In such a relaxed atmosphere, Obanei also began to speak slowly, and what happened on Hachiho Island was slowly outlined in front of Shinichi. Gradually, a solemn expression appeared on Shinichi's face. I understand, Obanei, it's okay now, let us do the next thing, you eat something first, and come to me if it's not enough. After comforting Obanei, Shinichi went straight to Makijuro. This Iguro family is really damned. Shinichi said with a gloomy face. Makijuro was a little surprised and asked Shinichi, what? What happened? Chapter 60. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Iguro family is a mysterious family living on Hachiho Island. They are isolated from the world but extremely wealthy. What outsiders don't know is that this mysterious family seems to be cursed. For more than 300 years, every child born in the Iguro family will be female. However, this curse was not broken until 12 years ago when Iguro Zayabanei was born. Since Zayabanei was born with consciousness, he has been locked up in a dark dungeon by the so-called relatives. Although there are exquisite and delicious meals and inexhaustible gold, silver, and jewelry delivered to Zayabanei every day, the hypocritical smiles of those relatives and the eyes that look at some kind of livestock still make Zayabanei feel cold in his heart. He doesn't know why these relatives treat him like this. What's more terrifying is that before going to bed every night, Zayabanei can always sense a terrible breath paying attention to it. That breath is terrible, greedy, and bloody, and the rustling sound that sounds every night on the top of the dungeon makes him feel scared and uneasy like a demonic sound. The secret of all this was finally revealed on the day when Xiaobanei was 12 years old. Xiaobanei, who was caught like an animal, was sent to the family's ancestral hall by the tribesmen. On the ancestral hall, a hideous and terrifying snake ghost was worshipped. This is the secret of the Iguro family. They use the children born in their family every year as offerings to worship this evil ghost, and the evil ghost is also very generous to reward the Iguro family with the gold and silver treasures obtained from the caravans and fleets passing through Hachiho Island. This is also the reason why the Iguro family is so rich, but the birth of Xiaobanei gave the snake ghost a surprise. The boy with heterochromatic eyes made the snake ghost very greedy, but she tried her best to curb her greed, because if it was just a baby, there would be too little blood and flesh, so she had been patient and let the Iguro family raise Xiaobanei a little bigger before eating him. This is why the Ihei family members kept Xiaobanei like livestock, because to them, Xiaobanei was a sacrifice to the snake ghost, and a tool to exchange for countless gold and silver treasures. The 12-year-old Xiaobanei still did not satisfy the snake ghost. It wanted Xiaobanei to grow up a little bit, but the extreme greed could no longer be suppressed. The greedy snake ghost asked the Ihei people to cut Xiaobanei's mouth and drink a bowl of Xiaobanei's blood. This is also why Xiaobanei had a bandage on his face, because under the bandage was a mouth wound as hideous as that of the snake ghost. Unwilling to die like this, Xiaobanei relied on his strong will to survive and used a stolen hairpin. After countless days of hard work, he successfully cut through the cage of the dungeon and escaped from the devil-like family. In the process, he also met his most important partner Daibumura, a lost little white snake. This is the story of the Ihei family, a despicable scum family that worships evil ghosts. Shinichi felt heavy-hearted. He thought that his experience in Teranishi village was disgusting enough, and those greedy villagers were ugly enough. See chapter 30 for details. Unexpectedly, the Iguro family was even worse. They actually worshipped evil spirits for hundreds of years. Makijuro also looked ugly when he heard this story, and his hand holding the Nichiren sword unconsciously tightened. Would such a beastly family really send the child Obanei back? Shinichi's idea was even more radical. He even thought that the best destination for those scumbags should be hell. But it was only a thought, because the Nichiren sword in his hand was used to kill evil spirits, not to kill people. No matter what, the Iguro family must pay the price. Shinichi had made up his mind and even had a bold idea, but Shinichi's idea was destined to be impossible to realize. Under the guidance of Enji, Shinichi and Makijuro brought Abanai to the Iguro family hidden deep in Hachiho Island. However, they could smell a strong bloody smell even from a distance of 100 meters. Frowning slightly, Shinichi said to Makijuro after thinking, "Mr. Rengoku, something seems to be wrong." Makijuro's expression was also solemn. "Indeed, it seems that we are too late. This family has been killed by the evil spirits." The situation was urgent, and Shinichi and Makijuro immediately split into two groups and rushed into the Iguro family mansion, while Abanai outside did not have to worry because she was protected by Enji. As soon as Shinichi entered the Iguro family mansion, he saw a scene like hell, with broken limbs everywhere, dried blood on the floor, broken internal organs, and heads with eyes open. Holding the Nichiren sword tightly, Shinichi took a deep breath. Mori no breathing. Eighth form. Shao Mori eyes. The left eye was green. The light flashed, and countless vitality gathered in front of Shinichi. Corpses were everywhere, and the entire Iguro family seemed to have been slaughtered. However, facing these tragic scenes, Shinichi's heart did not fluctuate much, and even had some contempt. This is retribution. However, under a dilapidated ancestral hall that seemed to have collapsed due to great damage, Shinichi passed by. A group of human vitality was pulsating. After hesitating for a while, Shinichi still stepped forward, pulled out the Sun-Will sword, chopped the countless bricks and wooden stakes in front of him into pieces, and successfully pulled out a thin figure from the ruins. The exquisite and gorgeous kimono was now covered with dust, and the face that should have been quite beautiful was also covered with cracked blood scabs and stains, and the hair was like dry grass. She didn't look very old, and seemed to be about the same age as Obana. The girl pulled out by Shinichi was like a frightened bird, struggling madly, and kept shouting no. What adults don't want, what sacrifices ran away, it has nothing to do with them. Shinichi frowned and listened to what the girl said, and guessed what happened. It should be that the snake ghost went crazy after learning that the little Banai she had carefully raised had escaped. In anger, she slaughtered all the women in the Iguro family, leaving only this girl who was buried in the collapsed ancestral hall. Holding the girl who was already mentally abnormal, Shinichi found Makijuro. Makijuro also searched for a long time. The two were sure that except for Banai and this girl, there were no other survivors in the entire Iguro family. It's really retribution, Mr. Purgatory, are you right? Shinichi couldn't help but turn around and ask. Makijuro didn't say anything, but the blue veins on the back of his hand also showed that he was not calm. The two took the girl out of the Iguro family mansion. Outside the mansion, the dirty little Banai was squatting on the ground. He tentatively reached out and touched the chubby Yuana. Yuana naturally did not resist. For him, it was quite comfortable to have someone rub his fur. It was rare that Xiao Banai felt a little calm in his heart. Unfortunately, this calm did not last long. A shrill scream broke it all. Xiao Banai. The girl screamed with a voice full of resentment. The current results are really bleak. The number of readings is getting less and less. It's too difficult. I, the humble Muzi, hope that everyone can support me and give me some motivation. Click to urge me to update, and click on the free gifts to give me the motivation to continue to persevere. T to the power of T.